want to get back to the Draymond stuff because it's infuriating. Being a big fan of his as we are, it's infuriating because he does so much when he's doing it right that it makes life hell for his opponents and it makes life so much easier for his teammates. And he had all the talk after game 1 of coming out with fire in game 2, and then all the talk leading into Boston and having to continue it, and then you come out and play this game. How are you not ready for this game? After everything you've been saying leading up to this game, everything after game 1, knowing what's on the line with the fact that you have a chance to steal home court advantage right back after blowing it in game 1, and you come out and you lay this type of egg. Now, look, it's Draymond. Defensively, this man commits more than 6 fouls every single game. I will never say otherwise. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Getting caught on all of them is a different story. And so getting called for early fouls definitely plays a factor into how you play defense. And if the refs are showing you, and especially a Scott Foster-led crew, and the Celtics are like undefeated or something when Scott Foster...
He's 13-0 now.
Yeah, it's friggin' ridiculous. But regardless, if you are called for those fouls early on, it does change the way you play defense because you have to, otherwise you're going to be out of the game by halftime. But to talk the game that Draymond talks and then come out and play that kind of game, it hurts as a Draymond fan because I want him to do well. I want him to prove that he is everything he says he is, and in the past he did a lot. But so far in this series, I really think he's hurting the Warriors more than helping the Warriors, Ryan.
See, I still don't know. In this game, he definitely hurt the Warriors more than he helped the Warriors. But he definitely helped them more in game 2. And I think even in game 1, I didn't think he shot horribly. He was like 2 of 12. I thought the rest of his game was he played fairly well. But yeah, 2 of 12 is probably going to end up hurting your team. So I'll concede to you on that. In this game, though, this was really something like on a different planet of terrible. Not only did he only take 4 shots, so he's not aggressive at all, but what that does is that allows whoever's guarding him, whether it's Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, because what seems to be like the trend now is not putting one of these guys, like one of your best defenders, directly on somebody. You're going to put them on maybe like the worst guy so that they can help off. And you don't have to worry about Draymond shooting at all. So whenever anybody drives, Jason Tatum doesn't have to stay on Draymond Green in the corner. He can come over and help on a Steph Curry drive, or Jordan Poole's trying to get to the lane or something else, and create way more turnovers that way, because you're just not going to be able to guard like Steph Curry one-on-one. So you just get as much help as you can. And having Draymond on the floor offensively allows the Celtics to do that on the defensive end, because he's no threat to shoot or score or do any of that. And then in this game, like I said, I didn't think he played horrible defense, but they were 8 of 12 when he was the closest defender, so they were still scoring on him, whether or not you thought the defense was good or not. He wasn't stopping them from getting buckets. And he had a couple bad turnovers. I know there's a pass that probably could have been not an easy fast break, but it was definitely a fast break opportunity, and one that we've seen them convert time and time again. And he threw it to the point where Al Horford was able to just stick his paw out there and then grab it, and the Celtics went the other way. And for Draymond, I'm pretty sure he said it on his podcast after the game, as much as we thought he got into the Celtics' heads last game, I don't know if he got into his own head or if just the narrative surrounding what he needed to do got into his head this game. But he said something along those lines, and he wasn't quite as focused as he needed to be, or maybe he just bought into too much of the hype of, I need to be whatever it is that I need to be for us to win. And it ended up really costing the Warriors, because he was certainly a net negative in Game 3, and a pretty big one. I don't really remember a game that I thought was this bad all around. Honestly, in his playoff career, and not that I watch every single game that the Warriors play, but even as bad as Game 1 was, he was just missing shots. I thought he did everything well, everything else that game, and in this game, I didn't think he did anything well. And you're right, as a Draymond fan, it was really tough to watch him falter like that. And I don't know that he cost the Warriors the game necessarily, but he certainly didn't help, and he was a better Celtic than he was a Warrior.
No, he definitely didn't cost the Warriors the game. I wouldn't say that. I would not take it that far. This was a team effort loss outside of Steph and maybe a little bit Clay. But Boston dominated this game. Boston played a free-flowing game of basketball, moving the ball really well, cut down on the turnovers, jumped up on the assists, were aggressive in the paint. They only took, what were they? They took 6 shots in the paint in game 2, I think, right? Something stupid like that, some ridiculously low number of shots near the hoop in game 2. They topped that by the end of the first quarter. So the Celtics were the aggressors, and they played smarter basketball as well. They under 15 turnovers, and we talked about the stats of what happens when they keep the turnovers under 15. The Warriors had way more turnovers. They had way less assists. They had way less rebounds. They had way less points in the paint. So all that added up together, that's a team loss, and the Boston Celtics just dominated you to a 16-point victory. This team is expected to be so good offensively. It's ridiculous. The numbers of the Golden State Warriors, of the number of times that they have been held to, quote-unquote, this low of offense. And by this low, we mean 101 points or less. We're not talking about 80 points or 90 points. They're still getting over 100 points. But if they have 101 points or less in the finals, they have lost every single time. All 8 times that they've only scored 101 points or less, they have lost in the finals. This is how their offense is expected to be so good, is that it has to be such a high number. And if your defense is not doing its job and 101 points isn't getting done for you, then you need to work on something right now. And they need to work on playing as a team, moving the ball, getting assists, moving without the ball, doing whatever you can to shake this Celtic defense, because right now you're being owned, and even worse, you're being absolutely owned in the fourth quarter. The Celtics are what, plus 40 in the fourth quarter in this finals, Ryan? You cannot be minus 40 in the finals in the fourth quarter and expect to walk out the champion. You just can't.
Well, no, you can't, because if they weren't minus 40, they'd probably be 2-1 in this series. But they're not. They played the fourth quarter like pitifully poor in games 1 and 3. In game 2, they got up by so much that they just let the backups in, and the backups were able to fight it out to the point where the Celtics probably won the fourth quarter in game 2 as well. But it certainly didn't have the same impact that it did in games 1 and in game 3. And for the Warriors, I don't know what it is about the fourth quarter that they can't carry the momentum that they have over in the third quarter, or what it is about the Celtics. Are they just saving up energy for the last 12 minutes of basketball to be like, okay, now's the time that we really get at it? Because neither strategy seems like it's all that smart. We're just going to give up on the third quarter and then go ahead and dominate the fourth quarter. And then for the Celtics, or for the Warriors, we're just going to punch you in the mouth in the third quarter and then lay down in the fourth. Like, I don't understand why these two teams, who you can argue that they're the two best teams in the NBA or not, but they're teams in the finals, and they're certainly two of the best 4 or 5 teams in the NBA. And they just can't put together like one consistent second. I don't understand it. I know that the other team is really good too, but you got here by beating good teams. The Warriors a little bit less so than the Celtics. But at this point in the season, you feel like either team would be able to have that figured out, and they're really just not. And I don't get it. I don't understand why, and it upsets me.
Okay.
I just want a good game, start to end.
You and me both.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah.